that of course brings us to Ukraine and Russia and everything going on there. And this just breaking news, this may develop by the time that this is uploaded, but the Ukrainians started sending drones and bombing the outskirts of suburban Moscow. Right. And the U.S. seems to be not cool with this, but the Brits are cool with it. So it shows you kind of it shows you the breakdown on like how crazy some of these factions are. But we're finally seeing Putin, and as I said, maybe the slowest, most frustrating way possible for Russian nationalists, at least, taking the gloves off and finally like, look, we're going to start really striking some of these decision-making centers in Ukraine. My personal prediction is that at the end of all of this, the best Ukraine can hope for is all of the land west of the Dnieper, not including the Black Sea. That's my prediction. I'm wondering if you see anything either in the near future or the long future.
You're taking Odessa off the.
I think it's over. I don't think they can. I don't think
I agree.
I afford to not take it.
I agree 1,000%. I share that assessment entirely. I know it's frustrating. We're all frustrated, but it seems, at least when I avail ourselves of people like McGregor or Ritter or so forth, that is the price of following so closely the Russian military reliance on the Clausewitzian strategy of just slowly but surely grinding down the military capabilities of your opponent to absolute dust. So it's so different. I mean, you and I are both raised on shock and awe military tactics. Shock and awe is supposed to send the enemy running.
We all saw the bombs over Baghdad.
Right, exactly. Clear the strategic area as quick as possible. Minimize as any kind of combatant casualties on your side, and then occupy until you put your puppet regime in that does the bidding of the U.S. State Department. And we found that the problem with that is it just doesn't work. I mean, especially with Afghanistan. Your enemy combatants just simply regroup. They reconstitute in a safe environment in Pakistan. And because we in the West are suffering from if we can close the loop here, because we're suffering from a secularized, inflicted demographic implosion, they just wait us out. The average age of your typical Afghan is 18. The average age of your typical American male is 38. Your typical British male is 40. They just waited us out, and that's what they did. So demographics is destiny in that sense. So the Clausewitzian strategy is to slowly, methodically, unrelentingly grind down the military of your opponent into dust. And when you're dealing with the Ukrainian military, you're dealing with what was, I don't think you can say is anymore, but what was by far the single most powerful military in the whole of the European continent. I think it was Scott Ritter who said that if Ukrainian forces wanted to, they could have invaded and taken over the whole of Europe. There would not have been any standalone army to have stopped them. That's what Russia has been grinding down into dust over the last 18 months. But now with NATO artificially propping up the Ukrainian military, which is basically now virtually entirely in a NATO military, right? NATO weapons, NATO funding, NATO intelligence, I think to a certain extent, NATO command. Other Russian forces will not allow much of what still constitutes Ukraine to exist anymore. NATO did what Russia said you're not allowed to do. They turned Ukraine into a NATO nation de facto. And so strategically speaking, I think you're right. Anything east of Dnieper and going all the way to Odessa around the Black Sea, I cannot imagine Russia taking any less than that. And then that, if they take Odessa, then that gets into the whole Transnistria mess that you were warning us about over a year ago, which is very interesting. So we'll have to see how that.
And it's so true that people people always forget that military principle that they're going by, and people need to think of just why Putin and Russia might be willing to even take like political hits to maintain that strategy. And it's because, look, they know that the ultimate goal of a large faction of those in the U.S. State Department is the dismantling of Russia. And they know that if they know that they're not being communicated to properly by the West, and that if they do if they make do something a certain way, the West will spin it to then justify a literal war against Russia. So they're being very careful as to maintain this back and forth to maintain it's this very strategic thing.
Yes.
And I think as well, people need to remember that Russia ultimately was never super interested in actually governing a lot of Ukraine. They were, again, very happy for it to just be a neutral satellite state. But now they realize, like, part of when they decide to take this territory is when they think that enough of the population there has had enough with the regime in Kiev, because the goal of the United States on the longest term, and this is from leaked State Department documents, is to wage a guerrilla conflict within an entirely occupied Ukraine, to completely use that as a catalyst for political instability in Russia. And Russia doesn't want to do that. Russia doesn't want to occupy a territory where they have to wage guerrilla conflict. And so that's why this is going to go slower than people want, because even the places that are, even if Russia takes all of Kharkov, they're going to need to do a lot of work before they officially integrate it into Russia, to prevent basically just integrating a bunch of terrorists into your borders, you know, because that's the game that the U.S. is going to play.
Yeah. Yeah. But first, gang, are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck? Do you want to learn the secret to paying off your home in just 5 to 7 years on your current income? What if we told you that we're about to expose the banking secrets the wealthy take advantage of each and every single day? Does this pique your interest? Well, so then you need to watch this video with Michael Lush, founder and CEO of Replace Your University. He's about to reveal the bulletproof financial blueprint that will change your life forever. But beware, this is not your typical financial advice. It's a daring, unconventional approach that challenges everything you thought you knew about money. You ready to take the leap and embrace the unknown? Click on that link below to join the revolution and discover the truth that will set you free. But be warned, once you see the light, there's no going back. Yeah, I know, I agree. And also we have to keep in mind, as far as Russia's concerned, they have fully decoupled from the Western liberal globalist order. They live right now effectively in a post-globalist, neo-traditionalized world. They live quite comfortably in that world with China, with India, with Iran, all the OPEC nations, Turkey for now, Sub-Saharan Africa. The relationship, what Ted Cruz was advocating with Uganda, is only going to further drive them into the arms of Russia. I mean, it's just, there's no way around it. So they live very, very, and to a certain extent, Lula's Brazil. They're continuing along that trajectory as well via BRICS. So as far as they're concerned, the liberal globalist world order just doesn't exist anymore. So they're playing out this military conflict in a way that keeps China's, I wouldn't say keeps China happy, but that China doesn't get nervous about. I mean, if they were to just go all ape on Ukraine, I could see China getting very, very nervous with that, saying, well, we still have plenty of plates in the globalist world order that we plan to basically recalibrate around Beijing anyway. But so we'd appreciate if you don't embarrass us that way. Or India, they don't want to lose India. India's been playing off East and West pretty effectively to their own advantage, their own geopolitical advantage. So, they want to keep, a lot of people don't realize how Russia has, over the last 30 years, had to learn to abide by what we call more broadly the international order. And the international order is not this rules-based order that the United States gets to impose upon everyone else. It is this Eurasian geopolitical order that Russia has to be very, very respectful of, lest they end up having China, India, and the Middle East turn their backs on them. So they're always trying to keep those nations and the powers that be happy, but also pursue their own political interests in the process. And that balancing act is really, frankly, one of Putin's geniuses. He's just been absolutely so. Medvedev was very good at it as well. Yeltsin was just drunk all the time. So I just don't. I think people have to realize. I mean, as far as Putin is concerned, he's in this for the long haul. He's like a chess master. The end result is already done. We already know how this is going to play itself. We already know how this is going to end. It's just all a matter of playing itself out in such a way that keeps China, India, Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, Brazil happy. As long as Venezuela would be happy no matter what. But as long as they're all happy, as long as they're, as long as all powers that be, as long as even Japan wants to continue to buy our oil, then we're going to continue with the status quo, and the end result will be the Ukrainian army will turn to dust.
We may need to do a whole thing on Japan and its relations with the U.S. versus Eurasia. That would be fascinating because they're on the one hand they're like the biggest U.S. colony, but on the other hand their culture is so antithetical to it, and they realize they're practical.
It's a contradiction. It's really, a contradiction, and they all know it. They all know it. It'll have to get worked out in one way or form, shape or form. But
well, you'll have to tap me into how it's going over there when you get back.
Hey gang, if you want to connect with more courageous patriots and start taking action and organizing, be sure to join my Telegram group. I post the latest breaking news I find interesting and chat with my favorite patriots around the country and even the world. Click the link in the description below and join the conversation today.